Put them very neatly. And move them up a little bit. But make it nice. And... Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janna Ballabha Girivaradhari Gopi Janna Ballabha Girivaradhari Dashodanandana Vraja Janarandana Dashodanandana Vraja Janarandana Jashodanandana Vraja Janarandana Jashodanandana Vraja Janarandana Jamunatira Banachari Jamunatira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Ballabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Ballabha Girivaradhari Vishodanandana Vraja Janarandana Jashodanandana Vraja Janarandana Jashodanandana Vraja Janarandana Jashodanandana Vraja Janarandana Junatira Banachari Jamunatira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We'll have divinity and divine service, please. I mean, we would like to have divinity and divine service, and we'd also like to chant the chapter. Vyasuvacha iti samprashna samvrishto vipranam romaharshani pratipuja vachastesham pravaktum upachakrame sutuvacha yam pravanjantam anupetam apeta krityam dvaipayano viraha kartara ajuhava Putreti tanmayatayata binedus tam sarva bhutarayam bunim anatosmi yaksvanubhavam akila shruti saramekam adyamadipam apitishatam tamontam samsarinam karunayaha purana kuhyam Tam vyasa sunum upayami gurum muninam Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narotamam Devim sarasatim vyasam tato jayam udirayed Munayak sadhu prishtoham bhavadbhir lokamangalam Yat kritta Krishna samprashno Yinatma suprasidati Savai pungsam paro dharmo Yato bhakti radhoksaje Ahaitu kiya pratiyata Yayatma suprasidati Vasudeve bhagavati Bhakti yoga prayojitaha Janayat yashu vairagyam Jnanam chayaduhaitukam Dharma swanushtita pumsam Vishvaksena katasuya Notpada yedyadiratim Shrama evehi kevalam Dharmasya hyapavargasya Nartartha yopalkalpate Nartasya dharmaikantasya Kamo labhaya hi smritaha Kamasya nendriya pritir Labo jiveta yavata Jivasya tattva jignasa Narto yascheha karmabhi Vadanti tattva vidas Tattvam yajnanam advayam Rameti paramatmeti Bhagavaniti shabdyate Tashchadadhana munayo Jnana vairagya yuktaya Pashyantyatmani chatmanam Bhaktya shruta grihitaya Atak pumbir dvija shreshta Varnashrama vibhagasha Swanushtis tasya dharmasya Samsadir haritoshanam Tasmade kena manasa Bhagavan sattvatam pati Shrotavya kirtitavyascha Dheya pujascha nityada Yad anudyasina yukta Karma granti nibandhanam Chindanti govidastasya Ko na kuryat kataratim Shushrushoshadatanasya Vasudeva Kataruchi Syanmahat Sevaya Vipra Punyatirtana Shevanan Shinvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridyantaksto Hyabhadrani Vitunoti Suhritsatam Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavat Yutama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishdaki Tada Rajastamo Bhava Kama Loba Dayashchaye Cheta Iter Anavidham Stitam Sattve Prasidati Evam Prasanna Manaso Bhagavad Bhakti Yogataha Bhagavat Tattva Vijnanam Mukta Sangasya Jayate Bhidyate Hridaya Grantish Chijante Sarva Samshaya Shiyante Chasya Karmani Drishta Evat Manishvare Ato Vai Kavayo Nityam Bhaktim Paramaya Muda Vasudeve Bhagavati Kurvantyatma Prasadanim Sattvam Rajastama iti Prakritir Gunasthayar Yukta Parapurusha Eka Ihasya Date Stityada Ye Hari Varinshi Hareti Samya Sheyam Si Tatra Kalu Sattva Tanornranam Suhu Parthiva Dharano Dumas Tasmadagnistrayi Mayaha Tamasastu Rajastasmad Sattvam Yad Brahmadarshanam Pejire Muneyo Tagre Bhagavantam Adhoksajam Sattvam Vishuddham Shemaya Kalpante Yenutaniha Mumukshava Ghora Rupan Hitva Bhuta Patinata Narayana Kalashanta Bhajanti Anasuyava Rajastama Prakritaya Samashila Bhajanti Vai Pitrir Bhuta Prajeshadin Shri Aishvaya Prajepsavaha Vasudeva Paraveda Vasudeva Paramaka Vasudeva Parayoga Vasudeva Parakriya Vasudeva Param Jnanam Vasudeva Param Tapaha Vasudeva Parodharmo Vasudeva Paragati Saevedam Sasarjagre Bhagavanatma Mayaya Sarasadrupaya Chasau Gunamaya Guno Vibhu Jaya Vilashite Shreshu Guneshu Gunavaniva Antak Pravishta Abhati Vriknanena Vrajrimbrita Yata Yavahito Vanir Darushveka Swayonishu Naneva Bhati Vishvatma Uteshu Chatatapuman Asau Gunamayer Bhaver Uta Sukshmendriyatmabhi Swanirmiteshu Nirvishto Punkte Bhuteshu Tadgunan Bhavayatyesha Satvena Lokan Vailoka Bhavana Lilavatara Nurato Devatiryan Naradishu Iti Srimad Bhagavate Mahapurane Paramahamsam Samitayam Pratamaskande Naimishyo Prakyane Dvitiyo Dhyayaha Hari Om. Translations, please. Ugrashava, Sutta Goswami, the son of Romaharshan, being fully satisfied by the perfect questions of the Brahmanas, thanked them, and thus attempted to reply. Srila Sutta Goswami said, "Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto that great sage, Shukadev Goswami, who can enter the hearts of all. When he went away to take up the renounced order of life, sannyas." Is that all right? His father, Vyasadeva, fearing separation from him, cried out, "O my son!" Indeed, only the trees, which were absorbed in the same feelings of separation, echoed in response to the bereaved father. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto him, Shuka, the spiritual master of all sages, the son of Vyasadeva, who, out of his great compassion for those gross materialists who struggle to cross over the darkest regions of material existence, spoke this most confidential supplement to the cream of Vedic knowledge after having personally assimilated it by experience. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayana, unto Nara Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. O sages, I have been justly questioned by you. Your questions are worthy because they relate to Lord Krishna, and so are of relevance to the world's welfare. Only questions of this sort are capable of completely satisfying the self. The supreme occupation, dharma, for all humanity is that by which men can attain to loving devotional service unto the transcendent Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted to completely satisfy the self. By rendering devotional service unto the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, one immediately acquires causeless knowledge and detachment from the world. The occupational activities a man performs according to his own position are only so much useless labor if they do not provoke attraction for the message of the personality of Godhead. All occupational engagements are certainly meant for ultimate liberation. They should never be performed for material gain. According to sages, one who is engaged in the ultimate occupational service is material gain to cultivate sense gratification. Life's desires should never be directed towards sense gratification. One should desire only a healthy life or self-preservation. Since a human being is meant for inquiry about the absolute truth, nothing else should be the goal of one's works. Learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth call this non-dual substance Brahman, Paramatma, or Bhagavan. The seriously inquisitive student, well-equipped with knowledge and detachment, realizes that absolute truth by rendering devotional service in terms of what he has heard from the Vedanta Shruti. O best among the twice-born, it is therefore concluded that the highest perfection one can achieve by discharging the duties prescribed for one's own occupation according to caste divisions and orders of life is to please the personality of Godhead. Therefore, with one pointed attention, one should constantly hear about, glorify, remember, and worship the personality of Godhead, who is the protector of the devotees. With sword in hand, intelligent men cut through the binding knots of reactionary work, karma, by remembering the personality of Godhead. Therefore, who will not pay attention to his message? O twice-born sages, by serving those devotees who are completely free from all vice, great service is done. By such service, one gains affinity for hearing the message of Vasudeva. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, supersoul in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee, who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. by regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, and by rendering of service to the pure devotee. All that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. As soon as irrevocable loving service is established in the heart, the effects of nature's modes of passion and ignorance, such as lust, desire, and hankering, disappear from the heart. Then the devotee is established in goodness, and he becomes completely happy. Thus established in the mode of unalloyed goodness, the man whose mind has been enlivened by contact with devotional service to the Lord gains positive scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead in the stage of liberation from all material association. Thus the knot in the heart is pierced, and all misgivings are cut to pieces. The chain of fruit of actions is terminated when one sees the self as master. Certainly, therefore, since time immemorial, all transcendentalists have been rendering devotional service to Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead, with great delight, because such devotional service is enlivening to the self. The transcendental personality of Godhead is indirectly associated with the three modes of material nature, namely passion, goodness, and ignorance. And just for the material world's creation, maintenance, and destruction, he accepts the three qualitative forms of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Of these three, all human beings can derive ultimate benefit from Vishnu, the form of the quality of goodness. Firewood is a transformation of earth, but smoke is better than the raw wood, and fire is still better. For by fire we can derive the benefits of superior knowledge through Vedic sacrifices. Similarly, passion, rajas, is better than ignorance, tamas, but goodness, sattva, is best, because by goodness one can come to realize the absolute truth. Previously, all the great sages rendered service unto the personality of Godhead due to his existence above the three modes of material nature. They worshipped him to become free from material conditions and thus derive the ultimate benefit. Great authorities is also eligible for liberation from the material world. Those who are serious about liberation are certainly non-envious, and they respect all. Yet they reject the horrible and ghastly forms of the demigods and worship only the all-blissful forms of Lord Vishnu and his plenary portions. Those who are in the modes of passion and ignorance worship those in the same category, namely the forefathers, other living beings, and the demigods who are in the charge of the cosmic activities, for they are urged by desire to be materially benefited with women, wealth, power, and progeny. In the revealed scriptures, the ultimate object of knowledge is Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. The purpose of performing sacrifice is to please him. Yoga is for realizing him. All fruitive activities are ultimately rewarded by him only. He is supreme knowledge, and all severe austerities are performed to know him. Religion, dharma, is rendering loving service unto him. He is the supreme goal of life. In the beginning of material creation, that absolute personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, in his transcendental position, created the energies of cause and effect by his own internal energy. After creating the material substance, the Lord Vasudeva expands himself and enters into it. And although he is within the material modes of nature and appears to be one of the created beings, he is always fully enlightened in his transcendental position. The Lord as Supersoul pervades all things, just as fire permeates wood. And so he appears to be of many varieties, though he is the absolute one without a second. The Supersoul creates bodies of the created beings who are influenced by the modes of material nature and causes them to enjoy the effects of these modes by the subtle mind. Thus the Lord of the universes maintains all planets inhabited by demigods, men, and lower animals. Assuming the roles of incarnations, he performs pastimes to reclaim those in the mode of pure goodness. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta translation of the first canto, second chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Divinity and Divine Service. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimidandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Na Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadahmayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Parakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savatutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahaganar Shri Vishakanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Tanamostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. We're continuing our reading of the Srimad Bhagavatam. We're now on the 8th canto, 5th chapter. We're taking up at text number 11 and 12 in the chapter entitled, The Demigods Appeal to the Lord. And here, Parikshit Maharaj is asking a question of Shukadeva Goswami, which, of course, is the substance of the not only the Srimad Bhagavatam, but the Bhagavad Gita and many of the other revealed scriptures. There's a question and answer session going on between great souls. And as mentioned in the beginning of the Bhagavatam by Shukadeva Goswami, people in general, and not just people, but also animals, as Prabhupada points out in his purport, have many kinds of questions to ask, and there are many answers being given. But most of them are only in relationship with the material body. When there are exalted souls, the questions must relate to Lord Krishna. What's more, they relate to the world's welfare, which is the topic that comes up at Naimisharanya. And so we have the benefit of listening in to the conversations of the great souls. And here, Parikshit Maharaj asks, O great Brahmana, Shukadeva Goswami, why and how did Lord Vishnu churn the ocean of milk? For what reason did he stay in the water as a tortoise and hold up Mandora Mountain? How did the demigods obtain the nectar And what other things were produced from the churning of the ocean? Kindly describe all these wonderful activities of the Lord. So these activities, these events actually happened, and they're the eternal pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So by listening to the pastimes, especially this pastime of the churning of the milk ocean, of course one may think that, well, these are just stories. Well, first of all, they're not stories. They're actually historical facts. And second of all, one might think that these are too fantastical for me to fathom. But if we listen carefully, we'll find there are many lessons for our lives within these pastimes, and particularly within this pastime of the churning of the ocean of milk for nectar. Not the least of which is the metaphor itself, which is that in order to attain anything in human life, we have to churn. Churning requires a little effort. If you've ever churned butter, which I have not, I admit, although maybe in grammar school we shook some up and got butter, but I don't know if that counts. We did have to shake it. You have to labor, and churning is the metaphor here, of course, this is the story of churning the ocean, and the metaphor we can apply to our lives. As we heard the other night, it's important for human beings to understand that the real benefits in their life come from yajna and relating everything to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the Gita, Krishna says, Yat karoshi yad ashnasi yad johosi dadasiya yat tapasyasi kaunteya tat kurushva madarpanam. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer or give away, as well as what any austerities you may perform, you should do as an offering unto me. For those who are connected to devotees or to the Supreme Personality of Godhead through his teachings in the Bhagavad Gita, they may then go on doing their work, because that's natural. People don't give up doing their work in this world, nor does Krishna recommend that they do so. But they should think that I'm doing this for Krishna. In fact, Prabhupada mentions this in the 18th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, that the acharyas have said that as we do our work in the world, we should think that I'm doing this work for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When one is able to, or when one has the insight that everything is coming from Krishna, all the energy that I'm utilizing to make my livelihood and whatever profit is coming, that's also Krishna. This is something that Prahlad Maharaj points out in his prayers, that all the effect, the cause and the effect, that's you, my Lord. And whatever energies I see in my life, these are all you too. My family, that's you. My job, that's you. The income I'm getting, that's you. It's all coming from Krishna. And someone who begins to see this and goes on working with the idea that I'm dedicating this to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, gradually comes to the position of knowledge, of understanding that I'm a soul within a body, and there's also a super soul within the body. There's a progression. And by dedicating the fruits of one's activities to Krishna, then, as Krishna says, Brahman yadaya karmani sangam tyakva karotiya lipitena sapapena padma patram ivam basa. Then one lives in the world without being besmirched by the sin that comes from the idea of ownership, that this is mine and this is for me to enjoy. Rather, one then lives like a lotus that's in the water but isn't touched by the water. So churning is important. We have to work. But if we're working for Krishna and we dedicate the fruits of our activities to Krishna and we realize that the energies that are all involved are Krishna himself, that he's supplying them, then we'll get the great profit of life. So this is certainly an interesting topic, and Parikshit Maharaj has asked, and he goes on to say in 13, my heart, which is disturbed by the three miserable conditions of material life, is not yet sated with hearing you describe the glorious activities of the Lord. Look up sated. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the master of all devotees. Sri Sutta Goswami said, O learned Brahmanas assembled here at Naimisharanya. When Shukadev Goswami, the son of Dvaipayana, was thus questioned by the king, he congratulated the king and then endeavored to describe further the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Shukadev Goswami said, when the Asuras with their serpent weapons severely attacked the demigods in a fight, many of the demigods fell and lost their lives. Indeed, they could not be revived. At that time, O king, the demigods had been cursed by Durvasa Muni. The three worlds were poverty-stricken, and therefore ritualistic ceremonies could not be performed. The effects of this were serious. So herein we find the first lesson, because we hear in this verse that there's a conflict going on between the demigods and the demons, and that's nothing new. Throughout the Bhagavatam, we hear of conflict between the demigods and the demons. That's just what they do, is fight. And what is the reason that the demigods are now in a disadvantageous situation? And that is because of an offense that Indra made to Durvasa Muni. Durvasa Muni is a ubiquitous character in the Puranas. You'll find that he makes an appearance in Satya, Treta, Dwapara, and Kali Yuga. And he's a very powerful sage. And he's also, although he's very powerful and has many disciples, he has a penchant for anger. And he curses very easily. Of course, a curse by a great soul, it doesn't necessarily mean one's doom, although temporarily inconvenienced by having to take, for instance, the body of an elephant or something like that in the next life because of a curse coming from a great soul, or in the case of Nalakuvara and Manigriva, taking birth as twin Arjun trees. There's a way in which there's a fruit inside, a benediction that comes also. In any case, one day, when Indra was riding his elephant, Durvasa Muni saw Indra in all his glory and offered him a beautiful flower garland, much like this one. And when Indra, riding high on the elephant, oftentimes when there are ceremonial circumstances, someone will ride in an elephant because what could be more opulent than that? It's nowadays it's hard for people to maintain a pet like a cat or a dog. It's very expensive. You want me to move? Okay. Which way? You recommend that way? Okay. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
But in a few minutes the sun will come there.
Yasyagnaya Brahmati Sambritakara Chakro Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Can you find the page? And Durvasa, I was saying that riding high on an elephant. No, I'm seeing you. Okay. Someone might think that I'm a big deal. Of course, Krishna says in the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Nirmana moha jitasanga dosha, don't think you're a big deal. Nirman means don't think like that. This is one of the tenets of spiritual life, is don't think that I'm the man. That's why he says nirmana, don't be the man. And so Indra, thinking that he was something, received the garland and didn't consider it very significant. So he took the garland and he gave it to his elephant. He said, "Here, you take it," and put it on his trunk. And the elephant, he just like, ew, and he threw it on the ground and stepped on it. And Durvasa Muni saw that. And, like one time when I was younger, I had a garland around, when I was a brahmachari, I had a garland around my neck, and I offered it to Trivikram Maharaj, and not knowing the etiquette. And he took it and he goes, "Ew, I don't want prasadam from a brahmachari." He just kind of like gave it to somebody else. And so it was, and I was like, "Oh boy, did I blow it." But of course, Durvasa Muni didn't take it so well. And he thought, who is this? Who is this person? And so he cursed him to lose everything, to lose all his opulence. And so Indra then and the demigods lost their position within the universe. They were disadvantaged. Meanwhile, the demigods, as will be mentioned later, had an advantage in that although their guru, Shukracharya, known for dharma, although he has a partisan point of view, we find out in the story of Bali Maharaj. He at that time was being worshipped by the demons very carefully, and therefore they were gaining power. And all these circumstances led to the demise of the demigods' hold on power in the universe. So now they were being dominated by the demons. And so they want to know what to do. So they go to meet Lord Brahma. He's their leader, the leader of the demigods. And they met him at his assembly house, and they told him that we've fallen into an unfortunate situation. We're being dominated by the demons. What should we do? And so Brahma takes the demigods and leads them to the shore of the ocean of milk. Where else do you remember this from? This such a happening. Can you say more about that?
Before Krishna appeared, all the demigods went and approached Brahma that how much suffering they are going through, and then Brahma leads them to the shore of the milk ocean and offers prayers.
So what did Brahma do at the shore of the ocean of milk?
He prayed.
How did he pray?
With the Purusha Shukta prayers?
Where's Priya Kishori? She got away? Okay. Sa Shashirsha Purushaha Sahasraksha Sahasrabha Sabhuming Vishwato Vritvat Atyatishtat Shangulam Purusha Eve Dangung Sarvam Yat Bhutam Yat Shabhavyam
Tadannena tirohati etavanasya mahima ato jayagmischa purushaha ato vishwan vyakramate shashana nashane abhi.
Thank you. This was the prayer offered by Brahma and the demigods at the shore of the ocean of milk, both when they were calling for Lord Krishna to advent because things had gotten out of hand in the universe. And now they are again going to this ocean of milk. In this instance, it doesn't say chronologically which came first, but now they're offering a prayer. And here it is mentioned that although Brahma hadn't seen the Lord, he could hear about him. So it is an important point that Prabhupada makes here, that one may not see directly the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but if you can hear his instructions. Yes, here it is in 8:5-25. There at Shwetadweep, Lord Brahma offered prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even though he had never seen the Supreme Lord. Simply because Lord Brahma had heard about the Supreme Personality of Godhead from Vedic literature, with a fixed mind, he offered the Lord prayers as written or approved by Vedic literature. Purport, it is said that when Brahma and the other demigods go to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead in Shwetadweep, they cannot directly see him, but their prayers are heard by the Lord, and the needful action is taken. This we have seen in many instances. The word Shruta Purvaya is significant. We get experience by directly seeing or by hearing. It is not possible to see someone directly. We can hear about him from authentic sources. Sometimes people ask whether we can show them God. This is ludicrous. It is not necessary for one to see God before he can accept God. Our sensory perception is always incomplete. Therefore, even if we see God, we may not be able to understand him. When Krishna was on earth, many people saw him, but could not understand that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Avajananti mam mudha manushim tanumashritam. Even though the rascals and fools saw Krishna personally, they could not understand that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even upon seeing God personally, one who is unfortunate cannot understand him. Therefore, we have to hear about God, Krishna, from the authentic Vedic literature and from persons who understand the Vedic version properly. Even though Brahma had not seen the Supreme Personality of Godhead before, he was confident that the Lord was there in Shwetadweep. Thus, he took the opportunity to go there and offer prayers to the Lord. Isn't that profound and also relevant to our lives? If Brahma, with so much qualification and intelligence and so forth, and delegated power, couldn't see the Supreme Personality of God, hadn't seen him, but had complete faith that the Lord was there and went offering prayers, and then we'll see the result if the Lord reciprocates, then shouldn't we also have that same mood? We can follow in the footsteps of Brahma and realize that the Lord hears our prayers and go on offering prayers, realizing that he's there hearing them. The other point is that we can understand only by hearing. Of course, as we know, one of the reasons that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur had taken His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, then Abai, as a disciple and given him initiation, was he noted that he liked to hear. And a particular incident in which she noted that was when our Srila Prabhupada went for a yatra that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was conducting. He didn't have much time, so he couldn't go for the whole yatra. He just went for a day or two. And the day that he got there, there was an opportunity for the pilgrims to go and see Sheshashai Vishnu. And the next day, they wouldn't be able to see the deity. The doors were closed and they were moving on. And there was a choice. They could stay and hear Srila Bhaktisiddhanta speak, or they could go and see the deity. So most of the pilgrims went to see the deity, and a couple stayed behind. One of them was the future A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Abai. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta lectured, and then he noted that what will they see if they go there? Because if they don't hear properly, then they can go and do some eye exercises by looking at the deity, but they won't understand what they're looking at or feel the depth, feel the Lord's presence. And he noted at that time, as he mentioned later, when the devotees in Allahabad had recommended Abhay for initiation, and that was, I marked him. He likes to hear, he listens and does not go away. And so that is a great qualification, or I could boldly say it is the only qualification for spiritual life, is the eagerness to hear about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If I were to make such a bold statement and you were standing there and somebody challenged me and you wanted to back me up, what Shastra would you give to back that up? Give me some pramanam verses. Well, just don't belt it out. Take the microphone and take your stand. Where are all the microphones, please? Go ahead. Give pramanam.
We have the verse that goes, Shushushroshadadanasya Vasudeva Kataruchi Syanmahatsevya Vipra Punyatirtha Nishevana. And you repeat that many times to remind us that just by listening to the Bhagavatam,
So that verse says,
this service is done.
yes. Shushushroshadadanasya Vasudeva Kataruchi. So by serving great souls, Syan Mahat Sevaya Vipra, one gains an affinity for hearing about the Lord. That's a good hearing verse. But give me a verse that's more towards the main qualification of spiritual life is hearing. It doesn't be exact, but help us out here.
In the next verse, it says, Srinvatam swakatha Krishna punya sravana kirtana hidyantas tuya bhadrani vidhunoti suhit satam. So that verse is like the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, who is Paramatma sitting in one's heart. When we hear his message, that itself is the most pious activity, and gradually we purify ourselves.
Okay? Go ahead, you look like you got something.
So I was thinking about Churn 1 in Bhagavad Gita.
Okay.
Maya sakta manapartha yogam yunjan madashraya yajjnana neha
Samshayam samagramam. Sorry.
Asamshayam samagramam yatha gyayasi tat shrinu. So in this verse, Krishna says that, now when you hear, just by hearing from me, I think I'll just read the translation.
Yeah, just say it first from your memory of what you remember that it means.
That now here, tat shrinu actually.
Yes.
So Krishna says, and then by listening to me, all the knowledge will be revealed to you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And all the knowledge he mentions in the next verse, right? Jnanam vigyams, jnanam teham savigyanam idam bhakshami sheshadha yajgatva nehabhuyonaj gyatavyam avashishyate. You'll know everything phenomenal and numinous. Go ahead, thanks. Good one. Yes?
Yashyam vai shroyamanayam krishnam paramapurushe bhaktir upadhyayate pumshe shoka moha bhayapaha. That shloka where Krishna, that it's mentioned.
Say where it's from and give the translation, please. And then defend your position.
1:17. So the translation is, simply by giving oral reception to this Vedic literature, the feeling for loving devotional service to Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, sprouts up at once to extinguish the fire of lamentation, illusion and fearfulness.
Very good citation. Defend your position. Why did you pick that verse? Why is it relevant?
I heard this verse, Maharaj, so many times, like the Soka Moha Bhayapaha, that caught my attention before. But then I realized that Krishna's bhakti is also, you can get the bhakti, pure bhakti by hearing.
By hearing.
Yes.
That's remarkable, isn't it? So if one were to seek the essence of all advice, what would that be, according to Rupa Goswami? Tell us. Take the mic. Tan. Take the mic. Say it slowly and then explain it.
Tannama rupa charitadu sukirtananu smrityo karmena rasana manasini yoja tishtan vrajeta dhanuragi jananugami kalam nayeda kilamiti padesha saram.
What's the point of the verse?
This verse mentions how by chanting the holy name 24 hours a day, or the tongue, or
You're conflating two verses. So Tannama, go ahead, help us out.
The essence of all instruction is to chant the name Tannama, to glorify the name, qualities, form, and pastimes of the Lord 24/7.
Yeah, hearing and chanting is in essence. Give me one more verse from Divinity and Divine Service about how one should have one pointed attention in hearing and chanting and remembering. Go ahead, you got it.
Tasmadekena manasa bhagavan satvatam patihi shrotavya kirtitavyasya dheya pujasya nityada.
Means?
With one pointed
word for word, tell us.
With one pointed attention, one
No, tell us the word for word.
Tasmad, therefore, ekena manasa, with one pointed attention, Bhagavan Satvatam Patihi, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is above the Pati of the modes of goodness,
of the Sattvatas, the devotees.
The devotees. Shrotavya, which means hearing.
There you go.
Shrotavya, Kirtitavya, chanting. Dheya Pujasya Nityada. Every day you have to worship. Meditate and worship Him.
Worshipping. Nityada
means every day, all the time.
It means always, doesn't it? So why you say every day?
All the time.
Huh?
All the time.
All the time. But why did you say every day? There's an explanation for that. I've said it before. Go ahead. If it says nityada, it means always, without stoppage. So why she said every day?
Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in his commentary, he says that like at nityada is definitely, but the neophyte devotees like me, they will get more demotivated to hear that 24 hours here to chant. So he told at least every day. So he has given that.
For those who are beginners, every day makes a lot more sense, doesn't it? Okay, yes.
The other verse I was thinking about from the prayers of Queen Kunti, where he says, Srinvat Shunvanti Gayanti Grinanti Abhikshanasha Smaranti Nandati Teve Hitam Jana Taeva Pashyanta Chirena Tavakam Bhava Pravaho Paramam Padam Bhujam. Where he says like how Srinvanti Gayanti, like when we Srinvanti Gayanti Grinanti Abhikshanasha, by all this process of hearing and etc., we can bhava pravaho paramam padam bhujam, we can stop the flow of this material world.
So this incident where Brahma goes to the milk ocean is not irrelevant for us. We could consider that we're standing in a place where we could address the Lord. We're here on the earthly planet where so many other sages have addressed the Lord, even though we can't see Him directly. We can still offer our prayers and have them be effective, and we can hear about the Lord to understand who He is. And furthermore, without hearing about Him regularly and every day, then we won't be able to understand Him. You had one more point.
I was thinking about Tachchadadana Munayo.
Yes.
In that particular thing, I never realized that I had learned this thing, but when you asked, I just looked at it. He says, the seriously inquisitive student or sage well equipped with knowledge and detachment realizes that absolute truth by rendering devotional service in terms of what he has heard.
Yes.
From the Vedanta.
This is an extremely important verse and very relevant to the Tachchadadana Munayo Jnana Vairagya Yuktaya Pashantyatmani Chatmanam Bhakta Shuta Grihitaya. So one has to be fortified by the process of hearing from the right authority in order to advance. And one has to take shelter of the Vedic literatures in order to understand the Supreme Personality of God. And in our case, we have to take shelter of the teachings of the Goswamis and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as it's coming through Srila Prabhupada's perfectly synthesized presentation about the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. You got another one, you're on a roll. Okay, last one. For now.
This is Bhagavatam 1:119.
Yes.
This is Vayam tuna viprayama uttama shloka vikrame yashinvatam rasajnanam swadu swadu pade pade. We never tire of hearing the transcendental pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is glorified by hymns and prayers. Those who have developed a taste for transcendental relationship with Him relish hearing His pastimes every moment.
Yes, this is an expression by the sages at Naimisharanya who are relishing hearing so much. I mean, there they are camped out at Naimisharanya for 1,000 years just to hear. And Vayam tuna Vritripyama Uttama Shloka Vikrame Yat Chinvatam Rasa Jnanam Swadu Swadu Pade Pade. Says there, every syllable, every utterance that they're hearing, they're tasting it like nectar. So that's the process to advance in spiritual life. Okay, is it another pramanam or you have a question? Okay, question, and then we'll move on with the story because we're still far away from the ocean of milk and churning. Go ahead.
Maharaj, as you were saying in Naimisharanya, when the sages are sitting and discussing, I was wondering, we say that it's the best thing in the world to be talking about Krishna, speaking of his glories, and connecting to him. How is it helping the rest of the world? It's only helping me right there. Now, unless someone records
that's it. That's a point that comes up in the 10th canto, 1st chapter. And this is, look it up. Look it up in your shloka book. 10th canto, 1st chapter. Vaisesika Dasa Prashna. This is something that is mentioned, that there are 3 people that are benefited when the Bhagavat is spoken. One is the speaker, the next is the questioner, the listener, and the third is everybody else in between gets touched by it. So whenever there's a transmission of the transcendental sound vibration, people get hit by it, they can't help it. Like last night, we were just sitting there minding our own business. We weren't trying to attract any attention by all those lights and stuff. We were just having a private bhajan and undi session there. Happened to find an open space there on the street. And people walked by and they heard the holy name. And we just happened to have a few literatures on hand. They made us hand them over. We were content to keep them under lock and key, but they demanded that we give them. So there's a way in which when we start to make the vibration, that people in between will get touched by it. And I saw quite a few people last night. They walked by, they thought they were on the way to the bar, but they said, well, wait a minute, let me just have a listen for a second. Some of them couldn't get away. They were trapped in there. So there's a way that the vibration goes out to everybody. When Shukadeva Goswami spoke to Parikshit Maharaj, there was a mixed audience. In fact, this is mentioned in the 10th canto when the esoteric pastimes, when Shukadeva Goswami is describing the esoteric pastimes of the Lord, Parikshit Maharaj asked for clarification several times because he realizes there's some jnanis, yogis, other kinds of people in the audience that may not be getting this properly. And he was concerned about them. And over and over again we find, for instance, when Vidura and Maitreya begin to discuss, Vidura starts to ask very fundamental questions. And there it is mentioned that, why is such an exalted person asking another exalted person such fundamental questions? And the answer is that he's concerned that everybody else who's going to hear about this later gets the basics first so they can understand it. So sages are always aware of the fact that there's other people listening. Okay, so now, any other points? You got it? Definition for sated, and also, did you find my verse? Can I have it? This is from Bhagavatam 10.1.16. Vasudeva kata prashna purusham strin punatihi vaktaram prachakam shrotrims tatpada salilam yata. The Ganges emanating from the toe of Lord Vishnu purifies the 3 worlds, the upper, middle, and lower planetary systems. Similarly, when one asks questions about the pastimes and characteristics of Lord Vasudeva, Krishna, 3 varieties of men are purified: the speaker or preacher, he who inquires, and the people in general who listen. Thank you. And now we'd like to hear the definition of sated and the etymology, please.
There are multiple definitions of sate, but the first one says that it means to satisfy a desire or an appetite to the full. And it comes from Old English, Yeah.
Nothing more? Old English by way of?
It's all English, and it was Sadian first, and then Sade, sad, satiate, and then sate. And it also means to supply someone with as much as or more of something than is desired or can be managed.
So this is another feature of Krishna Katha, is one is never sated, which means that you can never get enough. And Prabhupada mentions this in one of his purports, that the holes of the ears are very small, are they not? But inside is unlimited. So don't think that you can't keep putting more in there, and it'll all go in, and it'll all stay in there, and it'll have its effect. Okay, so there they are, offering prayers at Shwetadweep. And Brahma begins to glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the Purusukta and other prayers where he's mentioning the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Prabhupada mentions in his purport to text number 8527 that he says the word anidram means always awake and free from ignorance. This is a description of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as has been given in the prayers of Lord Brahma. And he says, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita 15:15, Matak Smritir Jnanam Apohanam Cha, it is the Lord who gives intelligence to everyone and who causes everyone to forget. There are millions and millions of living entities, and the Lord gives them directions. Therefore, he has no time to sleep. No time to sleep. He's busy taking care of us. And we're like, wah, I want my thing back. And it's like, Krishna's there taking care of us. He never has time to sleep, and he is never in ignorance of our activities. Isn't that nice to know? He's never in ignorance of activities. He's there and he's fully compassionate. Yes?
Does that literally mean he doesn't sleep?
Well, Jagannath doesn't. Nor does Krishna. He goes in at night, says he's going to bed, and he sneaks out the window. In Vrindavan, you'll never find a time he sleeps. In Navadvip, at Srivasangam, the devotees stayed up all night chanting, and it doesn't mean the next day you'd find them snoring in the afternoon. This is mentioned in the Chaitanya Bhagavat. They didn't sleep. It was Lord Chaitanya's mystical power that they chanted all night long in that esoteric kirtan with the Lord, and in the daytime they went around about their ordinary duties.
Does that mean the spiritual body doesn't need sleep?
Yeah, it means the spiritual body doesn't need sleep, although there are pastimes in which the Lord appears to sleep, as mentioned in Prahlad's prayers. He appears to sleep with half-closed eyes. Of course, the material world's not as interesting because the living entities are ignoring the Lord. He's fully attentive to us, but in the spiritual world, you have Lord Jagannath. His eyes are like this. And that really is because he's amazed at the mood of the devotees in Vrindavan. That's the form of Lord Jagannath, Baladev, and Subhadraji, that they're actually in ecstasy themselves, hearing about the separation that the devotees in Vrindavan are feeling. And so, although the Lord doesn't sleep, if you want to get his attention, then develop the kind of attitude that the devotees in Vrindavan have, which is service all the time, how to serve Krishna more, how to serve the devotees more. Then he takes even more notice of what we're doing. Okay, so Brahma's praying at the ocean of milk, and then the Lord manifests himself before them. And the Lord appears at first by his effulgence. And it's mentioned in the Bhagavatam that his effulgence is as if tens of thousands of suns have risen in the sky at one time. And at that time, the demigods who were praying couldn't see the Lord because of the effulgence, nor could they see themselves because the effulgence was so bright. But then Brahma and Shiva, who were both there at the time, could see the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that form is described here in the Srimad Bhagavatam as being a personal form. He has all the features of that a person is known for. For instance, 2 lotus feet and the hands and his face, and he was decorated with beautiful ornaments and so forth. He was dark complexion. He had jewelry and so forth. And they saw that form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So then, upon meeting the Supreme Personality of Godhead and telling him their plight, which was that they're in a disadvantageous situation. The demigods are known and described sometimes as sakama devotees. They want to maintain their situation here in the material world. And what is the situation in the material world? That is one of the topics here that's very important. And it is continued from the 7th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, in which Parikshit Maharaj has asked Shukadeva Goswami, how is it that the Lord seems to be partial? Do you remember that? He says, why is it that he seems to be partial? He seems as if he's helping out the demigods and he's against the demons. So this would be a disaster, actually, theologically, because although Krishna says it himself, Samaham sarvabhuteshu nami dveshostinapriya, I'm equal to everyone. An ordinary person is favorable towards his friends, like, I like my people because why? Why are they my people? It's like, agree with me. They give me sense gratification. In politics, you might have somewhere a president or something like that who he only favors like his people. He ignores the other people that he doesn't like, and his friends and enemies. This is a material point of view. Even a person who rises, Krishna says, to the transcendental position, in the Bhagavad Gita he mentions what is the vision of such a person when observing a variety of entities in the world. What is the verse? The verse that His Holiness Radhanath Swami quotes maybe more than any other verse with great effect. Yes? Somebody take the mic and express it. If you don't know the whole verse, try it anyway, because the way to learn verses is to try to say them even when you don't know them. And then you'll realize where the gaps are, and then you'll get interested and you'll go back and fill in the gaps, like building a bridge to Lanka. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know the whole verse, but it starts with Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmani Gavyasthani.
Don't help him out. Let him go. If you're going to go down in flames. Go ahead.
Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmani Gavyasthani Sunichaiva.
Don't help him out.
Yeah.
Okay, you can use charade. What do they call charades? Mimes. You show him to show the last line, because he didn't get the last line yet. No talking. It means you can show him. Bali, don't tell him stuff. You can act it out. Okay, last line is, who's it talking about?
Yeah, the last line is like Pandita Samadarshina.
Yes. Now tell us what it means.
So basically, it says like a learned man sees a dog eater, an outcast, as equally. He says like a super.
Equally with whom?
Like a super soul is there in like each.
So who's being listed in here? Who is seeing equally? Pandit, and compared to whom? Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavi Hasani. So who's the Brahmane?
Learned man. Learned person.
Brahmani. Gavi. Gavi means? Yeah. Hasti. So you got a Brahman, a cow, an elephant, Shuni,
Dog.
doggy, Shuni, Chaiva,
Sapake.
yeah, Shuni, Chaiva, Shwapake. What's that? He's a dog cooker. He cooks dogs. If you go over for Thanksgiving to this person's house, what do you have? A dog, fresh off the street. Okay, Shuni Chaiva Shopake Cha Pandita Sama. Pandit means the person on CNN, right? Who wrongly predicts the election every time. Okay, Pandita means somebody who Sama Darshina. Darshina means? So the person actually sees like this, is seeing the world. There's all different entities, just sees the external body as superfluous to the actual active ingredient, which is the soul within, right? So that's the vision of a learned person. So how could the Lord then play favorites in the world? It's not possible. So how is it that some people appear to be exalted or being brought up by the Lord, and other people are vanquished? So this is an important topic theologically, isn't it? And what is the answer? Yeah? Just say in one sentence without a long explanation.
It depends upon the appreciating capacity of the individual.
Okay, it depends on the situation or the capacity of the individual to take advantage or not of the mercy of the Supreme Personality of God. It's available to everyone, but according to one's situation within the blank of nature. One, modes of material nature, one is either elevated or degraded. And who can prove that? By citing from the Bhagavad Gita. That the modes either elevate one, keep one in the middle position, or drag one down to an abominable situation. Bali Mardan's got it.
Urdham gacchati sattvada, madhye tishtanti rajasa, adho gachanti tamasa. Jaganna guna vrittisa, adho gachanti tamasa.
What does Jaganya mean?
Means extreme.
Means really bad, abominable. So this verse that Bali Mardan Prabhu has just quoted from the Bhagavad Gita gives us an idea of what are the effects the modes of nature have on us, and it is our own positioning in relationship with these modes that determines whether we go up, whether we stay in the middle position, or whether we're dragged down into a hellish condition of life. So the answer to the question is the living entities, according to how they're positioning themselves, are doing it to themselves. And so when the mode of goodness is prominent in the universe, then the demigods take a prominent situation. And when the mode of ignorance is prominent, the roads of rajas and tamas, passion and ignorance, then it gives a niche for the demons to do well, because they're in their element. Now, there are various eras within the universe, time periods during which these modes are particularly prominent. For instance, in the age of Satya Yuga, which mode is most prominent, would you say, Anushri?
Sattva.
Say it as a statement, not a question, please.
Sattva.
Thank you. So, yes, Sattva Gun. However, as is pointed out in the 7th canto and here in the 8th canto, there's a macro situation for the modes and there's a micro situation also. So even within the various periods which predominantly display a particular mode of nature, there are upsurges from the modes of ignorance or passion, even within those periods that are predominantly in sattva. Which means, in general, you really can't trust the environment here in the material world. Prabhupada points this out when he was coming across on the Jaladuta, that the ocean looked placid and everything looked fine. And it's a little daunting being out in the middle of the ocean on a ship, because at any moment you can be thrashed by the weather. And then he said that at any given time a big storm could come up, and then you're being pushed here and there. So in the material world, everything can look perfectly fine, and then all of a sudden there's an upsurge in the lower modes of material nature through which we become displaced somehow, right? So this happens all the time. This is the nature of the material world. So the point that's being made here is that, and the Lord makes it when he appears to Brahma, Shiva, and all the demigods, he's saying that right now there's an upsurge in the situation in the universe, in the modes of passion and ignorance through which the demigods have become prominent. And said, right now, you're not going to be able to assert yourself. Therefore, you have to make an armistice with the demons. It means you have to compromise. So Prabhupada makes this point. It's sometimes in our dealings, we may not be able to get exactly what we want right away. Does that sound familiar? Yes. I'm glad to hear it. So we may have to make some kind of compromise in order to move forward, and that's exactly what the Lord suggests here to the demigods. He said, you're not going to be able to dominate. You're going to have to make an agreement with the demons to work together at this particular time, and you'll be able to get the fruit. And he gives the logic. There are many different kinds of logic, and the particular logic he gives is called Ajagara Vritti. It's called the logic of the snake and the mouse. What is the logic of the snake and the mouse? Who knows? Prabhu?
So I heard it, Prabhupada said, Ajagara Vritti, when they
hold that close.
When they are in morning walk, Prabhupada says that Ajagara Vritti means the mouse digs the hole, and then when the big snake, Ajagar, he goes in the hole, eats the mouse and stays there.
Yeah, and in another place he describes how a snake and a mouse are in a basket, trapped. So now if the snake eats the mouse, yeah, he'll get a meal, but he'll be stuck in the basket. He'll have to die in there. So he makes an agreement. So you make a hole, and then the mouse makes the hole, and then after waiting some time, then the snake eats the mouse, because then he can get out. So this is what Vishnu is telling the demigods. He's saying that right now you're not going to be successful, as you're in a disadvantageous situation. So you're going to have to make some cooperation with the demons, and that cooperation is going to be a churning of the milk ocean. And so there's a recipe for this, and the recipe is that he says you have to get the Mandora Mountain. What's the Mandora Mountain made of? Gold. So gold is much heavier than, for instance, granite rock. It's very dense and extremely heavy. And he says you'll use that as your churning rod to churn the milk ocean. And then he says you should put into the ocean, you should throw into it vegetables, creepers, drugs, and then start churning the ocean, and the rope will be Vaisuki. Vaisuki, the famous snake. He'll be the rope that churns. And then you can all work together to churn. So now the demigods and the demons make this pact. That means the demigods have to go and meet the demons. And at first, when the Indra and his entourage approach Bali Maharaj and all his minions, the followers of Bali, think that they're coming to attack. So they draw their swords and they stand up in a defensive mode. But Bali, being very intelligent, can understand that they're actually coming here for something else. Because first of all, they're not in an aggressive mode. He can tell from their countenances that they're not coming to attack us. They're coming for some other reason. So he sits down and listens to Indra, and they have a friendly conversation. The friendly conversation is based on how we can work together to get what we want, the nectar. And this is what goes on basically in the material world. People make an agreement to work together so they can have sense gratification. Prabhupada calls this sometimes honor among thieves. People steal, sometimes some thieves got together and they steal something and then they go to their hideout and then one of them says, now let's divide this morally or ethically. Let's be fair about this, how we divide it. So in the Sri Upanishad, it is mentioned that the Supreme Personality of Godhead owns and controls everything. Loud.
Ishavasyamidam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena bhunjita magrida kasya svidanam.
Which means?
Everything that is...
Besides what the translation is, tell us what it means to us.
That
Why is it relevant to us?
It is relevant because it states that the Supreme Personality of Godhead owns and controls everything.
So why is that relevant to us?
Because we know that we have no control, so we should just depend on Krishna.
That's good. And we have an addendum, Prabhu.
He controls everything animate and inanimate, and we should only take what is set aside as our quota.
Okay.
Because
that's important.
We should know very well to whom everything belongs.
And if we take more than our quota, what are we?
Thieves.
Thieves, okay. Yeah. So that's the basic theme of the material world, that people are stealing from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But if one understands this particular point, and that is everything belongs to Krishna, everything's controlled by Krishna, and that don't worry, because tena tyaktena bunchita, he's going to give you your quota. If he's not depriving the squirrels in my yard, which he doesn't, the California squirrels live better than I think anybody else in San Francisco, because they live rent-free and they don't have to pay for any insurance. They don't have to worry about going to H&R Block to pay taxes. They just take their little quota, and their quota happens to be in the summertime they get plums, in the wintertime they get persimmons. I don't know where they're finding all these nuts, but they find nuts, they bury them throughout the yard. And in the wintertime, when it gets a little cold here in California, not very cold, they get a new coat for free. They just like, where'd you get the coat? I ask them all the time. I don't know. I get it every year. So if Krishna's taking care of the California squirrels, why wouldn't he take care of every other living entity? So a devotee finds this niche, that I'm simply a servant of Krishna and everything's supplied by him, and therefore they're not overly anxious about the material part of their life. So now he gives them the formula, and the demons and the demigods agree to work together. So they go to Mandora Mountain and they uproot the mountain. They're very strong. They're not like human beings. Human beings are very soft and weak. They're meant for a different purpose. They're meant to sit and read Bhagavatam and sometimes churn a little butter. But the demigods, they're very mighty and powerful, and they have mystic potency. So they go together. This is not it's not a little hill. It's 800,000 miles wide. So now they go there and they pick up this golden mountain. 1, 2, 3, ah! And they all pick it up. And they start to drag the mountain, and then they fail. And they drop it. And many of them get smashed. They're smashed underneath the mountain. Some of them are mangled by it and so forth. And then Ajita, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, comes and saves them. And this you'll find throughout this pastime, Krishna comes and saves the demigods and the demons. So this is the first time he comes, and he glances upon them and brings them back to life, the ones that have been killed. And the ones that were mangled, they become whole again. So Krishna's glance is very important. If we can attract the glance of Krishna, then our lives will be auspicious. This is the main purpose, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta says, of our activities in this world. Don't try to see God, but try to work in such a way that He'll see you. So now, they're defeated. They can't carry this mountain themselves. So now, who comes? Garuda. Comes flying in. His wings, when he flaps his wings, you hear the Samaveda. And here's how powerful he is. Lord Ajita picks up not just the mountain from the back of Garuda, but also he picks up all of the demigods and all the demons, and they take a ride along with the mountain. Of course, we already know this as Gaudiya Vaishnavas, because Krishna is known as Giridhari. And it's no big deal for Krishna to pick up the big Govardhan hill and hold on his finger. He does these things all the time, but it's quite amazing, isn't it? He picks up this huge golden mountain, and then all the demigods, demons, and it puts the Mandora Mountain in place in the ocean. Now all the herbs and creepers and drugs have all been thrown in there. That's the recipe. They got the recipe. And now they put Mandora Mountain in, and now Garuda has to leave. Why does Garuda have to leave? That's the last time you're going to see him in the story. Because? Sundar, tell us. Give him the mic.
Because they're going to use Vasuki as a rope.
And why is that a problem with Garuda?
Because Garuda snakes are it's Garuda's food.
That's right. He's not a vegetarian. We're not necessarily vegetarians. It's not that we claim that we're vegetarians. We offer everything to Krishna, and according to Tena Chaktena Bunjita, well, we offer what Krishna likes. And so Garuda has his own quota. He eats snakes. And so with Garuda around, he's a natural enemy of this Vasuki. So Vasuki would not be able to concentrate on his job if Garuda was there. And now they put everything in place, and then they realize that the mountain won't stay afloat in this ocean of milk. So now the Lord comes in the next form as Kurma. So one of the reasons is mentioned here, Jayadev Goswami mentions. How does it start? Shiti iha vipalatore shishtavi tava prishte darani darana hina shakre varishte keshavadrita kurma sharira jaya jagadisha hare jaya jagadisha hare jaya jagadisha hare. He had an itchy back. And this is the way the Lord, He forms His pastimes. He's like, I got an itch on my back. So He arranges to get, he's such a big, He gets Mandora Mountain on his, he's like, yeah. If you've ever had an itch on your back, somebody can scratch it for you. Then it's like, okay, my life's okay now. So he had an itchy back, and he wanted that mountain on his back. So there he is, Kurma, and the mountain, and Vasuki, and they all get in line, and the demigods, they grab the head of the snake, and the demons grab the tail. But then the demons look out, and they say, why do they get the front? He said, we study and know all the Vedas, and we're great heroes, actually, all of us. So why do these, lackluster personalities get to have the front of the snake? Now, the demigods were all looking to Ajita, who was also holding on to the tail of the snake. What should we do? And Ajita just smiled, and he moved his position from the tail to the head, from the head to the tail. demigods were on the head, and then the demons were envious of that. So Ajita moves to the back, and then all the demigods just moved with him. So what Ajita knew was, when Vasuki got fired up, literally, and started being used as a churning rope, that fire would come out of his mouth. And that's just what happened. So a little later on, we find out when the churning starts that the demons are all getting burned. They look like burned pine trees. If you've ever seen a pine tree that's burned, you know, it's just a little skeleton there. And the demigods in the back, they were also getting some smoke and getting fatigued by the whole situation. It was very difficult, actually, churning that ocean. So the Lord himself started to help out also with the churning process. So in all the different phases, we find that the Lord comes and saves the day so that the churning can take place. And the first thing that comes out of the ocean is the kalakut, poison. And this is a lesson also. When you try to do something good, try to do the right thing, what happens? Something messes up. It's the nature in the material world that no matter what you do, even if you try some spiritual endeavor, you're going to find something that goes wrong. What are some of the things in the early days of the Krishna consciousness movement that went wrong? Let's ask Dayananda Prabhu, because he was there. Can you think of any mishaps that too many? Just name us a couple. See, this makes us feel better when we hear these things. Yeah. Yeah, you got to turn it on. It'll be green when you turn it on.
In Los Angeles, we started the temple, just a few of us, and not very experienced, young, and not very sort of charismatic. And then later, lots of devotees came to help us and carry it forward. Vishnu John and Tamal Krishna and Garga Muni and everyone. But it was just Aniruddha and I, and Nandarani. And we were deciding after 1 year in our little humble storefront what to do. So we said, well, we have a little extra money. Shall we buy a rug or shall we move? So then we decided, Aniruddha and I, we decided to move to Hollywood Boulevard. So this was a big step from Pico to Hollywood Boulevard. So we took a place, this should be a short story, we took a place on month-to-month rent, and that was our big mistake. And we signed this month-to-month lease, and then we were cooking, and the spices went up into, it was an old, or previously it was a beauty parlor, so very spacious. But we started cooking there, and it was in an office building with, I don't know, maybe 8 floors or something up above us. And so they were all, impressed with our, when we threw the chilies into the ghee and then all this, so they kicked us out. We were on the street, and Prabhupada was in town. The brahmacharis had come. Tamal Krishna Vishnu. This is a great way to accept them into our community in Los Angeles. And so brahmacharis had come, the world traveling Sankirtan party was there, Vishnu John, Jayananda, and Prabhupada was there, and we got kicked out on the street.
There you have it.
If you want to hear the end of the story,
yeah.
You have to read the book then.
They want to know which book. Your biography? Okay, in the Leela Amrita? Yeah, tell it. We're on a cliffhanger now.
So this was, how do I do it briefly? Okay, just to paint the picture, this is true. We were really on the street, and we had a lot of goods. The reason actually, it was my decision I accepted rather than fight it. I went to the landlord, I said, what can, please, you can't do this. And he said, yes, this is the lease, you signed it month to month. And if you just get out, no problem, we'll give you your deposit back. So some money in hand. So I thought, okay, we can try to stay, probably nothing will come of it, or at least we'll have some money. So I thought, okay. So we just moved out, and I went up the street and found this garage for rent. And the guy said, okay, here's this garage, but you can't store anything in it. So I said, okay, no problem. And then we came, we moved all of our stuff into the garage, and Jayananda was helping me, and Jayananda and I used to do a lot of heavy work together, and so we got all this stuff in. The landlord came out. He said, what's this? You can't use this for storage. So I said, well, we did anyway. And so he called the police, and the police came, and they said, well, Anyway, so this is an example of, many sequence of horrible events at that time. So to cut the story short, brahmacharis had their own house. Tamal Krishna Maharaj, or he was brahmachari, and Vishnu Jan and Jayananda, and devotees who later became leaders in the movement. Actually, they were there. Shilavati was the head pujari and famous as the pujari of the movement, kind of. So they had their place. We got a place with some of the householders, and cooking prasadam every day. And then we took Lord Jagannath. We had Jagannath that Shyamsundar had carved the year before, and took him to Prabhupada's apartment. Prabhupada had an apartment, so we moved Lord Jagannath there. And every day Prabhupada would go on his walk, and I was working full-time. Prabhupada would go on his walk, and he would look for places to rent. So then he would report to me, he would give these notes to me, for following up place to rent. So it was a big problem. We had no place. Then Tamal would find this place or that. He moved a couple times, I guess. And then one time we had a program in someone's garage. So all devotees, or maybe not quite so many as this, but actually, a good number, maybe 20 or something. I don't remember exactly, but enough to fill up a big place. So here we are, Prabhupada is speaking to all of his disciples in a garage. And then another time, one of the most beautiful remembrances, and this is recorded actually, that one time all the brahmacharis got shaved, and freshly shaved, and they had new cloth. In those days we just had like polyester or something, saffron polyesters, but they looked very elegant, So Prabhupada was there, and this was in the brahmachari house. They were renting a house, so all the brahmacharis were there, Prabhupada sitting, and then Jayananda was kind of tall and good looking and square. It's kind of like Vaisesika, and actually a little bit, But so he came in, also shaved in the saffron, and Prabhupada said, Jayananda, he looks just like Lord Chaitanya. Jayananda turned from white to red. So, and this is it. There's a tape. I've heard it, actually. Prabhupada says that.
I heard it recently.
Yeah? So then, finally, how do I end the story? Then finally, I can't remember who found this place. Somebody, not me, but this place on La Cienega, and not far from the current temple, which is on Vaisesika. So La Cienega right near to Venice Boulevard. 1975, I don't know why I remember that, but 5364 was the first temple. And the Prabhupada, I remember going with Prabhupada to visit it. It was in a wood frame, it was a church, somehow I think Baptist, but I don't know. Wood frame church, smallish for a church, but quite a good size, on a nice lot, a corner lot, with a front sort of area, I mean front yard, and then later Jayananda planted 108 rose bushes. Those of you who've read the Lilamrita, you know that. And then, so Prabhupada and I, we were the first ones to visit. We were walking all around this place. It had a nice, not as big as this, but for those days, a good-sized main room for the temple, like what would you call it, the church room, but no pews or anything like that. And then in the back there was a reasonably sized, good-sized room that we had prasadam in, and then there was another room for brahmacharis that brahmacharis slept in, and then there were 2 bathrooms, and they had some kind of fixtures that looked like we could put showers in them. So Prabhupada said, "Do you think you could put showers here?" I said, "Well, I think so, Prabhupada." And I was like very sort of can do, but I thought that, I better be careful, what I guarantee for Prabhupada. So he asked me about 2 or 3 times. He says, "Do you think we can put showers?" Well, yeah, I think so. Yeah, we can. So we did eventually. All right, so enough stories. So this was our failure. We're really, literally on the street. It was horrible. It really was. It was absolutely horrible. And can you imagine that Prabhupada was in town? This was the worst thing and the best thing. For me, it was the worst thing, probably in my life. The worst thing in my life. And then the best thing for the Los Angeles temple. This is why Los Angeles temple is the big temple, is because Prabhupada was there in this disaster, and then Prabhupada's presence turned it around. Tamal and Vishnu John were just passing through in the World Sankirtan party, and Prabhupada told them to stay because Dayananda is useless.
I was going to clap at the end of your thing, but then when you said that, doesn't seem quite appropriate. Thank you for that story. Thank you. And that was actually helpful, because this is the idea I wanted to bring forth. When you start churning, you may think that, well, we're in spiritual life, we're protected by Krishna, we're doing the right thing, but then everything that can go wrong will go wrong, and there's a way in which one has to have the vision that because we're serving Krishna, first of all, it's auspicious whether it goes right or wrong, and second of all, Krishna has some plan, and we may not see it. So that's the mood in which the demigods and the demons had to churn. They had to, on the faith of the declaration of Ajita, that you should do this and you'll get nectar out of it, then they went on churning despite the difficulty. And the first of the difficulties was quite ominous. It was the Kalakut poison which came out, which threatened the whole universe. It's kind of like this coronavirus thing. Like nobody knows how to stop it and where it's going to end. It just spills out into the world. And the Lord recommended, Ajita, that they go to Lord Shiva and pray to him. And the reason he did so, according to our acharyas, was to glorify Lord Shiva, who's the great devotee of the Lord, Vaishnavanam Yata Shambhu. And Lord Shiva said something that's very relevant to all of us, and in the way that we position ourselves in our devotional practice here in our ISKCON of Silicon Valley. And that is that when he was noticed by his wife for taking the sacrifice of drinking the poison for the sake of saving the universe, which he did by his mystic power, because he shrunk that huge ocean of poison into a small enough amount that he could drink it from the palm of his hand. He then held it within his throat. That's why he's called Nilakanta, because his throat turned blue because of that, holding the poison there. But that's an emblem of his sacrifice to save others. And this is noted by Parvati, his wife, and also by Shukadeva Goswami, who then says, Tapyante lokatapena sadhava prayasojana parama aradanam tadi purushasyakilatmana. That the best kind of service, parama aradanam, means the best, the supreme service that one can render, is taking trouble upon oneself in order to alleviate the miseries of others by giving them Krishna consciousness. And what is the misery? It is that people don't want it necessarily. They try to avoid it. And even though we know we have the best thing and we offer it, still people may say, I'm not interested, right? Is that possible? Has it ever happened? Yeah. So in the course of spreading Krishna consciousness, there are many twists and turns, and I was impressed upon hearing Dayananda Prabhu's story that Prabhupada tolerated whatever inconveniences were there for the sake of spreading Lord Chaitanya's movement. He sat in a garage. Such an exalted personality, a Paramahamsa, one would think that from the very beginning would have full facility by Krishna to do whatever he wanted, and he should be giving his classes in a palace at least. But here he is sitting in a garage somewhere in Los Angeles, where some garage band had practiced for a few years and then had gone nowhere. And now Prabhupada was there in the garage. It's also appropriate too. Hewlett-Packard started in a garage, and so did Stephen Wozniak and Steve Jobs. They started in a dusty little garage. And from there, because of their diligence, they were able to create two of the most productive corporations that the modern world has ever known. So Prabhupada, knowing this principle of churning the ocean, that poison comes out and that you have to be patient and continue to churn, stayed in the garage and gave his class, knowing that that churning process of speaking Bhagavatam to the devotees would be productive. It's all productive, as we established in the very beginning, hearing it, speaking it, and everybody else in between. And that's the essence of the Krishna consciousness movement. And the mood, the essential mood of the Krishna consciousness movement is this tapyante lokatapena. Loka means the people of the world. We take some trouble for the sake of saving the other people in the world. And what is the benefit of that? I'm asking, it's not rhetorical. Just as a clue, I already said it. Where are you? Yes, Prabhu, go ahead.
No, we become dear to Krishna. On the Guru Parampara, when we take the trouble to...
Can you prove that from another verse besides the one I just mentioned?
The verse from Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna says that there is no one more dear to me than...
No one more dear to me than the person who takes the effort to teach Krishna consciousness, teach the message of Bhagavad Gita to the devotees. So this is an important instruction that's given here by the example of Lord Shiva in the process of churning the milk ocean. And now we're going to take a 5-minute intermission, and we'll be right back here at 32 minutes past the hour for the conclusion of today's exciting story. Hare Krishna. See you back in 5 minutes.
I don't know.
So just as the demigods and demons were churning the ocean of milk together with the hopes of, you keep it, with the hopes of deriving some benefit, ultimately nectar, through which one would become immortal. We'll try to take a few things away today that will act like nectar in our lives as well. Revisiting the prayers of Brahma to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he says in 8.6.12, as one can derive fire from wood, milk from the milk bag of the cow, food grains and water from the land, and prosperity in one's livelihood from industrial enterprises. So, by the practice of bhakti yoga, even within this material world, one can achieve your favor or intelligently approach you. Those who are pious all affirm this. So, we get this very interesting instruction in the prayer of Lord Brahma about how we derive all the benefits of life from bhakti yoga. In the Gita, Krishna says, Vedeshu yagneshu tapasu chaiva daneshu yat punya palam pratishtam atyeti tat sarvam idam vaditva yogi param stanam upaiti chadyam. And that is that by doing devotional service, one gets the result of studying the Vedas, Vedeshu, Yagdeshu, performing yagyas, tapasya, by performing tapasya, Daneshu, by giving in charity, and so forth. There are many ways in which people try to position themselves in this world to get good fortune. But the basic principle is that everything good comes from devotional service. This is what is defined as faith or shraddha. Shraddha shabde vishwas kare surida nishchoish Krishna bhakti koila sarva karma krita hoy. Sarva karma krita hoy means that one knows that by doing bhakti, one gets all other things. All other duties are done by that. And Devarshi Bhutapna Nrinam Pitrinam Na Kinkaro Nayam Nrani Charajan Sarvatmana Yasharanam Sharanyam Gato Mukundam Prashrita Kartam. This is confirmed also in the Bhagavatam, in which it is said that all other debts to living entities, including the devas, the rishis, ordinary living beings, forefathers, etc., are paid when one fully serves the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So one can derive the real benefit in life, important to hear over and over again, by doing devotional service. So if we attend to our devotional practices, and even if we're not fully mature or successful in the practice of devotional service, Prabhupada mentions this in a purport, that when we try to do devotional service, even if we're not fully successful, this is, it will be efficacious because it pleases the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is mentioned by Narada Muni when he says, Tyaktva sadharmam charanam bhujam harer bhajana pakvota patetato yadi yatra kwa babadram abuddha mushyakim kovarta aptam bhajatam sudharmata. That if he gives a scenario, if somebody happened to take to devotional service and they weren't fully ready for it, they were apakva, they weren't mature in their consideration, but they went for it anyway. It was Narada Muni's opinion that such a person is better than someone who was able to perform all their duties perfectly in this world, but then didn't take the opportunity to practice devotional service. So we can derive all the benefits of life from performing devotional service. What do you think of that idea? Who said yes? Why did you say yes?
Because by serving Krishna and the devotees, I think that it'll just make our life 1,000 times happier.
You think, but what's the practical realization you have in your own life?
When I genuinely serve and I feel more connected to Krishna, and I also feel connected to Srila Prabhupada, even though we're kind of unfortunate that we weren't able to be in his association when he was here, but by serving in his mission and just the littlest things, it makes me feel connected to Srila Prabhupada a lot.
And
Krishna, and it's helpful.
In what way is it helpful?
It helps me stay focused in my material life as well, especially when there's a lot of distractions. I know through Krishna consciousness, association is important. And so it just teaches life values.
Okay, we're trying to extract as much as we can from you. Anybody else? Yes, Prabhu. Shamrupa's smiling, he's got something good.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, there is a beautiful story in Lord Chaitanya's pastime, because Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance is coming just 1 week away. So, one time, Shiva used to all the time chant and absorb in devotional service. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I think he asked some question that how you are able to maintain yourself. So he claps 3 times. So Mahaprabhu says, what's the meaning of this? So he said, 3 clap if Krishna doesn't take care, because Krishna is taking care of everyone, so I won't take care of me, then I'll drown myself in Ganga. So he showed by his example how he was completely dependent on Krishna. And also when Mahaprabhu was going to Jagannath Puri, so that time he asked every person, did you take anything? And everybody, they said, no, we didn't take anything because you asked us not to take anything. Mahaprabhu said, good, if you had taken anything, I would have told you to go back. So some of the pastimes from Mahaprabhu, how complete dependence.
So do you do it like Srivas does?
No, because I don't have that purity and faith. But
so what do you do? What's the practical point? What do you actually do?
So I try my best and then I just depend on Krishna, whatever happens. So
in what ways do you just depend on Krishna?
I don't push myself too much for the fruits. So it has to come, otherwise I'm just going to dead end it.
Okay, that's a good point. And that leads to another point in the churning of the ocean. This is an instruction that Ajita, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, gives to the demigods and demons before churning. He said, my dear demigods, actually it's just to the demigods, with patience and peace, everything can be done. But if one is agitated by anger, the goal is not achieved. Therefore, whatever the demons ask, agree to their proposal. So this number is 8-6-24. And so there, as we mentioned before, and as coming from the story, there may be some sense that we're compromising. But in the beginning, we find that Raghunath Das Goswami couldn't just run away from home and join Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, although that was his will. There was a complex situation that he was involved in. Sometimes being born in a very wealthy family, although people think, oh, let me have much wealth, it could be very difficult, actually. The parents there, they were pious. They weren't pure devotees, but they were very pious, and they were very, very wealthy. And they felt, as was the culture at the time, that they owned Raghunath Das Goswami. And therefore, whenever he ran away from home to join Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his parents had people bring him back, and they made every arrangement for him to be kept at home. Raghunath still wanted to run away, and what did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tell him? He said, don't be like a crazy person. He said, you have to wait. until the time is right. And he told him that Krishna will make an arrangement for you. If you keep your internal will and your practice going, then Krishna will make an arrangement. So this is practical for all of us. Well, for me, definitely. But there's a way in which those who still have some kind of worldly duties to perform and the complexities of life possible? Anyone? Just 3 or 4 of you? What do? You have to be patient. You have to go on churning. Keep churning and don't get impatient and don't get angry also. Just because you have an adverse situation, you have to go on. So this was the advice that's relevant for all of us that the Lord Ajita gives to the demigods. With patience and peace, everything can be done. So maintain that clear idea that by devotional service, everything will be done, but you can't have it right away. The poison must come also. And you also have to wait, and you may have to make some kind of compromise so that you can keep going. In fact, Prabhupada used the term inventive. You have to be inventive in order to stay alive in Krishna consciousness. So the Lord saved him in many ways, and one of the ways was he glanced over them to bring them back to life. He lifted the mountain so that they could put it in the ocean. Later on, he took the shape of the tortoise. These are all the ways in which the Lord helped. And then, here we have in 8:7:11, thereafter Lord Vishnu entered the demons as the quality of passion, the demigods as the quality of goodness, and Vaisuki as the quality of ignorance to encourage them and increase their various types of strength and energy. So we can remember as we're performing our services that we have to chant and invite the Lord to enter within us, to give us the kind of potency that we need to go forward. You'll see on the Jaladuta that Prabhupada was praying to the Lord to empower him in a certain way in order to achieve his mission. We can't do it independently, only by the power of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then, as I sort of briefly mentioned, the Lord, and this is in verse number 12, the next one, manifesting himself with thousands of hands, the Lord then appeared on the summit of Mandora Mountain like another great mountain and held Mandora Mountain with one hand. In the upper planetary systems, Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, along with Indra, king of heaven, and other demigods, offered prayers to the Lord and showered flowers upon him. So he not only entered within them as certain qualities, them means the demigods and the demons, but he also then appeared in a magnificent form on top of the mountain with many, many hands to help them churn. So you've got him on all sides. He revived them, brought them back to life. He became the place in which, as Kurma, the mountain would be held. He appeared on top of the mountain. He was actually helping to churn. And in all these ways, the Lord comes to our rescue in whatever endeavor we're doing to increase our service. He's the one who will come and assist us. So we can keep that in mind constantly. Then, because the demigods, this is text number 15, and were also affected by the blazing breath of Vaisuki, their bodily lusters diminished and their garments, garlands, weapons, and faces were blackened by smoke. Did you ever feel like that? I'll read it again. You tell me if you've ever felt like this. Because the demigods were also affected by the blazing breath of Vaisuki, their bodily lusters diminished and their garments, garlands, and weapons and faces were all blackened by smoke. In the course of doing your service, have you ever felt like that? No? I feel like that all the time. However, by the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, clouds appeared on the sea, pouring torrents of rain, and breezes blew, carrying particles of water from the sea waves to give the demigods relief. Then, when nectar did not come from the ocean of milk, despite so much endeavor by the best of the demigods and demons, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Ajita, personally began to churn the ocean. So then he helped out. And Then, of course, right after that, you get the poison, and Lord Shiva helps the universe. And then what comes out from who comes out first? Surabhi. So Surabhi comes out, and the sages there were interested in Surabhi. So they took charge of Surabhi. Then Uchaishava comes out, and who took Uchaishava? Uchaishava was Bali Maharaj. Then Airavata was claimed by Indra. Then is it Lakshmi next? Kaustuba, who took that? Ajita himself. That's where he got the Kaustuba from, ostensibly. Huh? Next. The Apsaras came out. Where did they go? Heavenly planets. Then Rama, Lakshmi Devi. So now I just want to make this point about Lakshmi Devi. I found it very profound, this section, because Lakshmi Devi comes out and she's to choose a husband. And she examined everybody. And so she found that everybody was lacking in one way or another. Some had exalted qualities, but they were missing another quality. And she looked at everybody. And then she found that the Lord, Vishnu, was perfect. And so she married him. And she stays with him eternally. So this is important for us because the research is already done. It's not that we have to go around and try to figure this out. If you want to save time, Prabhupada writes in the Bhagavad Gita, simply accept Ajita, the infallible Supreme Personality of Godhead. Don't waste time, lifetimes of time, making absurd theories about how there's no God. Don't try to invent a God. Don't try to put yourself in the position of God. It won't work. None of these things will work. So, Yenevra vindaksha vamuktamaninas tvayasta bhavara vashudha buddhaya aruya krishnena paramparam tata patantyato nadrita yushmarangraya. We've been failing lifetime after lifetime by not accepting the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And if we simply do that, then everything will fall into place perfectly. Yes, of course, we verify by understanding the method of acquiring knowledge, epistemology. We understand that there's a way to understand things. But at a certain point, you have to accept an axiomatic truth. And if it's reasonable, if you see that this is reasonable, that there's a Supreme Personality of Godhead, it's smart to take the stand, to make, even if you consider there's some risk in this. This was Pascal's wager. He said it's better to take a risk accepting the Supreme Personality that there is a God than to take a risk saying there is no God. Why? Because if there is, then you're fine. You're in luck. And if there isn't, so what? You still had a better life. Even sociological studies show that people believe in God have a better life than people who don't. Like, who was that? Immanuel Kant, or not Kant, but some of the existentialists end up committing suicide. Because if there's no meaning to life, and there's nobody out there, then what's the point to life? It's very miserable. So take a risk and follow in the footsteps of Lakshmi Devi and just say, I'm going to stick with Krishna. I'm going to serve Krishna. I'll be married to Krishna, and that's it. And if you take that, then you'll be perfectly situated, and you'll see that Lakshmi Devi already did the research. She checked everybody out. And yes, there are many exalted personalities there, but Krishna is the best of the best. So then, of course, Dhanvantari appears, and he's holding the pot of nectar. And interestingly, the demons then come and they snatch it, because they were thinking Ajagara Vritti, and the demigods were thinking Ajagara Vritti. Both were thinking the same thing. But when the demons took it, then they began to argue amongst themselves, because the weaker demons then, they knew that the stronger demons would just take it themselves. So they started saying, no, we should share with the demigods, because there's a way in which they were moralizing because they had a vested interest. And this is what people do throughout the material world, is they come up with all kinds of ideas of how we're equal and so forth, but it's self-interested. It's not based on an absolute principle, on the absolute truth. And then the demigods, seemingly cheated out of the nectar, were reassured by the Lord, who appeared in a special form, Mohini Murti. And Mohini then, who is unimaginably attractive, went before the demons, and they became bewildered. And they told her basically that, she said, you're fighting amongst, or they said, we're fighting amongst ourselves, and why don't you help us out? You solve the problem. She said, I will do that as long as you accept anything I say. And even if it seems I'm trying to cheat you, then you just accept. And they said, of course, we trust you. Because they were so bewildered by her. And she took that nectar and she started giving it all to the demigods with no intention of giving any to the demons. Rahu, however, figured it out. And he came over and sat in line in disguise sat in the prasadam line with the demigods. And he got a little sip. But then Ajita cut off his head with his chakra. And the head was preserved. And there's a question, why is it that they didn't know? And why is it that he was able to sneak into the line? And the reason was that the Lord, according to our acharyas, wanted to show the potency of the nectar. That even if a demon takes it, whatever it touches becomes immortalized. And this Srimad Bhagavatam says Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur is also like Mohini Murti. If somebody wants to be cheated, is insincere, that Bhagavatam will present itself in such a way that will take from it the wrong thing. For instance, sometimes people take a particular section of the Bhagavatam and they'll say, see, the Bhagavatam is about Gyan, or it's about karma or something else. They don't understand the ultimate conclusion of the Bhagavatam because that's their intention. They want to prove their point rather than being submissive to the Bhagavatam. And therefore they come out with the wrong idea. So Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur says, the Bhagavatam is self-correcting, or it is not available to those who are envious or who have an ill motivation. You'll get out of it the wrong thing if you come in without guidance from the pure devotees and without the right kind of motivation. So there's just a couple lessons we took away from, hopefully, that was my hope, that we would take away from this preliminary discussion of the churning of the ocean of milk. Not the least of which is just the metaphor of churning itself, and that to get anything good out of life, you really have to be patient and you have to do the work. And similarly in devotional service, I notice that wherever I go, people ask the question, I've been chanting for some time, and where's the bliss? How come I'm not in ecstasy all the time? And one answer is that we're not chanting for us to get bliss, we're chanting because it's a service. And we should think more in terms, or if we think more in terms of doing service with our tongue, then naturally we'll feel aligned and happy. And the other point is, we're churning. Poison may come out, and it takes time and effort to go on. We have to be patient and peaceful as we're performing devotional service. And we should always remember that because it's ordained by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the natural fruit will come out by His grace at the right time. I always used to think in O'Hare Airport, it was such an overwhelmingly huge airport. We would stand at the outside the gates where people would pour out from many different planes. And on a Friday night, sometimes we were just surrounded on all sides, thousands of people coming out. And I always thought of it like churning the milk ocean. You just keep trying, even if people were saying no, then eventually something would pop out. Some goddess of fortune, who said, yes, I'm totally interested in this, and I've been waiting my whole life. And if we go on in our Sankirtan endeavors and we keep churning, for instance, we had a tiny little house that we started from, and we kept churning, and we just did the right thing. Then we got a little storefront, and we kept churning. Then we got a crunky little commercial building with a pit bull in the yard and a man selling marijuana on the side. And then from there, we came here. And our job is to go on churning. Churning, doing the right thing to please the acharyas by distributing books, by gorgeously worshiping the deities, by making flower garlands, by keeping the temple so clean that people are stunned when they see how clean it is, and all the ways in which we churn. And we take the trouble to deal with interpersonal conflicts that go on inevitably because of social interaction. And all this is churning. And if we go on doing that with the right goal in mind, then the nectar comes out. And the ultimate nectar of life is that we prepare ourselves to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead in all circumstances. And those who have that mentality when they leave this temporary body and have no other concern except to go on serving will then obviously be given facility to have a spiritual body and continue serving in even a greater capacity. What do you think? Okay. So now we have Guru Puja, but before that we have a public service announcement from my friend and colleague, Dayananda Prabhu. Right? Do you have a public service announcement? Or is it something you wanted to just tell me? Okay.
I'll say that a few of the God brothers got together, and we like to criticize the God brothers, especially the leaders, and we couldn't find any fault with Vaisesika, so that's why I'm here. I'm here to collect the dirt to see if I can find fault with Vaisesika. So if
I wondered why you showed up suddenly.
If anyone knows anything, I have to report back to the God brothers.
One of my fondest memories is driving through New York City with Dayananda Prabhu in his old Mercedes, talking about how we were going to take over the city with Sankirtan. He and I had and still share a similar vision for expanding Sankirtan. And we spent many happy days there in New York City and elsewhere, where we looked at New York City as a microcosm of the whole world, didn't we? Yes. In fact, maybe that was your phrase, and that there was we had a vision for how we would expand the Sankirtan book distribution to all the different parts of New York City and so forth. Dayananda Prabhu was the way that we do the packets at the Rath Yatra. He invented that. Because at the New York Rath Yatra, he went to the dollar store and he bought all these little carrying bags. And then he had a little card that would step by step tell you how to distribute a book. And then he got little cans for collecting donations. And then he filled up all the bags with books. And that at the beginning of the parade, he handed them all out. And he let me assist him a little bit. And then all the devotees went down through the parade. And from there, that idea in seed form, we expanded into the thing in Los Angeles where we do no less than 15,000 books right? Every Rath Yatra. So I'm so happy you're here. It's a harbinger. Your appearance here is a harbinger of us beating Mayapur. And we really would like to do that. It takes innovation and it takes faith that we can move to the next level. It's a grandiose idea, but it's all possible by the power of Ajita and his devotees like Dayananda Prabhu.
Should I make my presentation? I was just going to do it for you, but should I do it to everyone?
Yeah, if you could can you take 5 minutes to do it?
Maybe less, yeah.
Okay.
So this is how it
Welcome him up here. You need the mic because the people online can't hear you, and there's more online than there are in here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, here, give it to me. Hare Krishna. So for the past number of years, actually about 15 years ago, I had this idea that the environment could be connected with Krishna consciousness, not just as our farm communities or that kind of thing. So I've been working on this as a seed idea for many years, and then for the last 3 years I've been writing. And even during that, I've been churning these ideas, really. And so now I believe I've come up with the final form as much as my small brain will allow me. And so here's this little pamphlet, and there's some other books behind it, but the pamphlet is called Enjoyment and the Environment. So here you go. Here's your pamphlet. It's about the environment. And it's about deep ecology or cultural ecology. And you see this book here on the back. This is the book that's featured on the back, Bhagavad Gita as it is. This has the concepts and principles. So here, you take yours, take it home and read it.
Thank you.
And we just ask a donation. You know, most people giving like $5, $10, whatever you have, you know, it's fine. So where are you from? You from around here?
I'm from
Yeah, just give
Lafayette.
a donation.
Okay.
Just give a donation. So do you... Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Can you, you know, a lot of people are giving 20 today for the movement, you know, it's for... Anyway.
It's a check.
Thank you. But this is post-dated.
Post-dated.
So here you can take a look. I'll pass this around. But just to sort of, as a little proof that this is a pramana, that this is not just some scam or hoax or something. The booklet starts out talking about enjoyment that elevates, from the Bhagavad Gita, quote from the Bhagavad Gita. I'm just going to read the headings of this thing. And then tying this enjoyment to the Vaishnava culture. So rather than, I have this theory that there are basically three things that devotees talk about when meeting somebody new. That's meditation, spirituality, and yoga. So this is a little different approach. It's cultural approach. So I speak about Vaishnava culture rather than spirituality, which is more of an individual thing, and it's a little niche. But environment is a much broader topic, and it's appealing to a wider cross-section than just yoga, meditation, and spirituality. So culture, this is Vaishnava culture. So how do people enjoy in the Vaishnava culture? And this is a culture that's gone back thousands of years, and it encompasses hundreds of millions of people, not just Gaudiya Vaishnavas. I'm talking about the broader Vaishnava culture. So let's compare and contrast Vaishnava culture, hundreds of millions, with Western culture, hundreds of millions, and see who is destroying the earth. So, isn't that right? Isn't that a fair comparison? Okay, so Who is destroying the earth? So, all right, so Vaishnavas are ahead of the game, and so that means every Vaishnava is an environmentalist. By definition. So anyway, that's another topic to discuss. So in the book, we talk about modern values and Vaishnava values, and then what's Vaishnava worldly enjoyment like, because we have enjoyment or happiness, as Bhagavad Gita says, in ignorance and passion and goodness. So even Vaishnava worldly enjoyment is concerned with, becoming more elevated to transcendental enjoyment. And what is transcendental enjoyment comprised of? Leela, this is a picture of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Nama. So this is the heart of Vaishnava enjoyment within the Vaishnava culture, not just the Gaudiya culture. If you go to the north of India, they say Jai Ram Ji Ki. So this is the name just in everyday speech. If you listen to Gandhi's Vaishnava Janato, the Gujaratis sing about how the Vaishnava is characterized by somebody who is always chanting the name of Ram. So, and throughout the culture, the Leelas are everywhere. The names are everywhere. Sculpture, all traditional sculpture, dance, drama, everything, Leela and Nama. That's Vaishnava culture. So what Vaishnava culture is based, next page, based on Bhagavad Gita. So Bhagavad Gita and Vaishnava culture. Now, what are the Gita's solutions to greed? Isn't that the problem that we have, destroying the environment? And what does the Gita have to say about it? And then the final section is, there have been many translations and commentaries on the Gita. However, the best one is Bhagavad Gita as it is by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. I just say it directly, don't forget about any comparisons or anything, I just, Gita, next section. The best one, and then on the back is the advertisement, basically, for Bhagavad Gita, and then, so the idea being that here's your pamphlet, we're representing the environment and the Vaishnava culture. Here's our Gita, here's your Gita, take it home, read it. So I have my strategy, my idea, my perfect idea, but I think it's up to...
I was just thinking at the Kirtan Oasis, we could have a booth there that's about the environment, and it could feature these main points, use the same artwork and everything like that. Can you imagine a booth there that about save the environment, or whatever Dayananda Prabhu suggests that be our tagline, and we could have a group there that's talking about it, or it could be the part of the main booth. We could have that as, the signage and everything like that, save the environment. And so we're chanting there, and then we have this whole presentation, right? And we'll also test it out today by, presenting ourselves. We're here as environmentalists, and we're talking about some of the most systemic problem in the world right now, which is climate change and so forth, right? And what are the solutions?
You can do as you like, but I try to avoid climate change because it's politicized.
Right.
It's very polarizing.
What would be the main phrases that you would suggest?
Well, this talks about enjoyment and the environment.
Okay.
So main phrases are...
For the problem.
Okay, the main phrases are, this is deep ecology and cultural ecology.
Deep ecology and cultural ecology. Everyone say deep ecology. Deep ecology. Cultural ecology.
Cultural ecology. These are real terms. So cultural ecology is the study of how cultures affect ecology, or how cultures affect the environment, and how the environment affects the culture. So that's within this scope of this, because we're talking about Vaishnava culture and its relation to the environment, and American culture. And then deep ecology is the concept developed especially in the 60s, 70s, that by European philosophers, that there has to be change in culture in order to improve the environment. It's not through solar panels and windmills that the environment's going to change. It has to be cultural values. Now, it's controversial how that goes, but it's not controversial to us. I mean, it's obvious that Vaishnava culture is the way it has to go.
So we'll use it today, right? Test it out? Okay, it's 10:18. So one of you, we'll take the questions after we do Guru Puja, okay? Let's thank Dayananda Prabhu. Haribol.
I'm just trying to do something for Prabhupada so I can make up for getting kicked out of the temple there.
Thank you very, very much. We deeply appreciate you coming here and for giving your condensed insights in a usable form that we'll test out, and we'll certainly give you feedback about the ways in which it works for us. Now we're going to move all the asanas back to their place, roll up this carpet, and we'll have the Guru Puja for Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Jai. 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 Jai.
Thank you very much. Really.